Have you figured out your niche? Are you helping adding value to other people's lives? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to Munira's Musings with your host, Munira Zahabi.
Greetings from Chicagoland. This is Munira. Welcome to Munira's Musings, a show that showcases an expert in their own niche. And we talk about how people are sitting on the sidelines and need to take the first step. Welcome, Micheal LeBlanc, right? Did I say that right?
It's LeBlanc. The C is silent, so it's a French pronunciation.
Oh, perfect. Okay, I'll just go with Micheal.
That works for me.
So, hi, Micheal. How are you?
I'm great. Good morning, and thanks for the invite, and thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to it.
You are welcome. So, Munira's Musings is a show that showcases people, like I said, who are experts at their niche, and they are always looking to help other people find theirs. And listening to their stories can allow you to trigger your niche. And who knows where this episode can take you. So Micheal here is an expert with working with the energy work. And I've just come across this energy work and experts in this field a year and a half ago. So I want to learn more. Aren't you curious? Well, if you like this show, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to our channel, because we come back every week with a new expert and a new idea of how you can step forward into your own niche. Thank you so much, Micheal. Let's talk about a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So my background's actually in social work. So I have a master's in social work and was a therapist for many years, but I got burnt out, decided to get into the corporate world of consulting and training, and I didn't really set a time frame on when I was gonna just take that break. And so it was about 17 years later, I'm like, I really missed the world of personal growth, and but spirituality and alternative healings were always sort of a passion of mine. And so when I decided to kind of leave corporate and go back and follow my passion, it was about not really wanting to just go back as a therapist, but I wanted to really bring in spirituality and bring in alternative healings, which includes kind of energy work. And it's that notion of everything really behind all things physical, there's a consciousness and an energy about it. And so the work I do with, whether it's in workshops or in my books or one-on-one, is really about, all of us tend to have something we want. There's some issue we're struggling with, there's some dream we're trying to manifest, or and it's about, how do I make sure I'm lining up with the consciousness and the energy of me with that dream fulfilled, not after that dream, not wanting that dream, because wanting it is a different energy than me succeeding, me in my dream, or me with the relationship, or me with the improved finances, whatever the issue might be. So a lot of my work is really about that journey. It's like you're here kind of wanting something or without something or struggling about something. And how do we shift the consciousness and energy of that to align more with the energy of you, with that, living that, enjoying that, experiencing that. So it's a very inner focus, inner work. But my belief is, as you shift your inner world, your outer world kind of naturally starts realigning and shifting. And sometimes that can look like it's falling apart, but sometimes it's just things are moving out of the way and making room for the new stuff. So anyway, there's a mouthful.
How did you go from being a social worker to figuring out that you can work with energy?
So when I got into social work and I started with, I knew I kind of wanted to be a therapist. I thought I was going to be a priest actually before that. But my passion was around spirituality and not religion. I grew up Catholic, so the Bible was around, if you will, but I wasn't raised very religious. So, but it gave me a curiosity, I guess, for spirituality. But I also, it's like, all right, you're not religious, you're not big on the Bible per se, you're open to other things, and you're gay, and it's like, you probably shouldn't be a priest. So there was this just sort of wisdom in my 20s that happened. And when I broke it down, it's like, well, what do I really love about like priest I knew? And it's really the work. It was just the work with people they did. And so I met some people in social work, and it's like, you could still do the work, but without the other stuff. So, so that happened. But I think my passion still around spirituality and just alternative healings was always really peaked more than just traditional stuff. And that led me into exploring breath work and energy work and different types of healing techniques. And so that journey kind of broadened my traditional, if you will, social work background and brought me into like trainings in Reiki. And if it was alternative and a little weird, I probably took it.
Okay. So how do you help people figure out what they are stuck in? Like you said, everybody has a problem that they need to resolve, or they feel they are stuck with something.
I mean, most people have a sense of they don't maybe know what to do with it, but they know where they're stuck, right? It might be, I feel stuck in my relationship. I feel stuck in my career. I feel stuck financially. I just, one of my clients, she's like, I'm not usually angry all the time. And every time I go to work, I just feel mad, So I think that it's either it's a place you're feeling negative in a chronic way is one indicator of where you're stuck, or two, just it's manifested in your life, right? It's just something's off here, and it's showing up either in you're getting some problems in a certain area, or you're having a lot of conflicts in a certain area. Your bank account's really not going the way you want it to. Your business is just not happening the way you want it to. So any of those are indicators of, potentially the energy and the consciousness you're holding is in a stuck place. It's in a more of the problem place than the solution place. Because the energy and consciousness of a problem is different than the energy of a solution. And it's like one radio station, you get one type of music, you tune into another one, you get another one. And what I find a lot with the work I do with the energy work and the meditations I coach around is when people shift within that guided meditation and energy work, their consciousness is shifting, their energy shifts. And a lot of times I've had people just the solution like just pops, right? It just sort of comes. And I've had a couple of folks in my meditation workshops. We do some practice in there. And just after the first 5-minute practice, one woman was just like, oh, I've been struggling with this all day. and then the answer came, but it's because you're now tapping in more to the energy where the solution lies versus staying in the energy where your problem is. So different frequencies, different states.
Okay, so how do you find these different frequencies? I mean, this is pretty interesting.
How do you say the question again?
How do you find these different frequencies? I mean, how do you train the mind to go in and figure out the energy levels? I'm still not clear, but
the beauty is you don't really have to. For the way I've come to know things to be, just the way I believe things to be, your feelings are really letting you know that all the time. And your feelings are with you 24/7. And so if you think of thought and you think of a line of thought, it's going to have an energy to it. It's going to have a consciousness to it. If I think of, well, how do I know if that line of thought is aligned with what I would call your true self, your higher self, your divine self, or not? And really the way you know that is through your feelings. It's kind of like our feelings are letting us know the taste of that line of thought, of that belief, of that state of consciousness. And so your feelings will follow your focus. And so if I'm focused on my life or this person or this situation, now let's just say it's your business. I'm focused on my business. But what I notice is I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling worried. I feel like I'm struggling way too much, right? The feelings are letting you know your focus, you're in a line of thought, you're in a place of consciousness that is out of alignment with your success, with what your true self knows to be true about you and your business. So whatever thoughts you're focused on, your feelings are always letting you know, is that one in line with my highest self or out of alignment with my highest self? And if I find myself anxious and struggling about it, and I'm just using my business, really my solution is I teach it, I call it my true self agreement. I'll say, all right, for 10 minutes, grab a piece of paper and make this agreement that your true self exists in this moment with you. Your solutions, your you with your success exists in this moment. And for 10 minutes only, set a timer. I want you to reach for thoughts that only align with you living successfully, that only align with what you think your divine self, your true self knows to be true about you and your business. And just reach for those thoughts only. And what I will find, and when I do it with myself, usually 10, 12 minutes, I can go from feeling anxious or stressed or struggling to feeling really good, much more encouraged, really inspired. Sometimes I have ideas of what to do next, that kind of stuff. But it's about, I got to take charge of my focus. My feelings will follow. My feelings will let me know the taste of the thoughts I'm starting to focus on. And if I'm getting in the right ballpark and I'm starting to realign, then I'm going to start feeling the relief. I'm going to start feeling some ease. My shift in feelings mean my shift in energy is happening. My shift in consciousness is happening. So your feelings are the way, to me, that I go about that. It's how you know.
You said that anybody who, relationship, people with business, people in their jobs, people who are just sick also can use this technique.
Yeah, I just, I use it for myself. In my current book, Divine Dirt, one of my chapters is called Fear to Joy. Fear to Joy in 12 minutes. And it was about an experience I had. I woke up anxious. I just woke up. I hadn't even really done anything. But I made that agreement. I got my journal and I set a timer because I was just curious how long it would take me to shift myself. I reached for thoughts that would feel better. I reached for thoughts that my divine self knew to be true about my life. And 12 minutes later, I felt amazing, honestly. And it was just it was a kind of an experiment. But with clients, some clients come in with, they are struggling with their relationship. Some they're kind of in a career, like they're shifting, or they want to shift careers. Or they need some more business, right? They're already established in their career. So it varies. Bless you. Bless you.
Excuse me. Thank you.
No, so it kind of varies the what, but you know if you're struggling, you know if you're and you know if you've been struggling a while, and not everyone aligns with what I teach, right? Because mine is about an inner journey. It is about, I do a lot of guided heart breath meditation kind of work, because I know the tendency for us to be in our heads about our stuff, our issue, is a certain state of consciousness, is a certain state of energy. And the solution does not exist there. You got to shift that. And you can sometimes haphazardly shift it by you just stumble on something else in life and you start feeling better and you take your mind off of it, and then all of a sudden you get some new ideas. But you can also deliberately shift that. And I think that's more about what I'm after. It's like, well, I don't want to have to wait for life to do something for me to feel better. how do I take charge of that? How do I take charge of my focus? How do I take charge of my breath to shift into that space? You know, some people will use visualizing. Some people will use vision boards. All of that's a technique, but the ultimate goal is it's only succeeding if you're shifting your consciousness and how you feel. If you're doing a vision board and you're not feeling different, then it's not being effective. If you're visualizing, but you're still feeling anxious and efforting and trying so hard, then it's not serving its purpose. Its purpose should be to settle into the feeling state. And if I'm in the feeling state of me succeeding, just keep using that example, then I'm in the right state of consciousness. There's a whole set of thoughts that only Micheal succeeding has. Micheal who's trying to succeed does not have those thoughts. Micheal who's trying to succeed does not have those interactions with people. Micheal who's succeeding feels a certain way, has certain conversations, responds to questions a certain way. And I've got to settle in and rest, if you will, in that space consistently. It's kind of like, then I'm tuning into the right station and I'm staying tuned into the right station. And I'm not switching stations back and forth and back and forth. So
I like that. I talk about the frequency stations when I'm talking about networking when I talk about networking in my niche, right? But
right.
What you're saying. So the fact is that I think what you're talking about is mindset, right? Just put everything together and work with your mindset, but also work with your feelings in your heart, because it all comes together. Your heart, mind, and like my friend says, heart, mind, and soul. Everything comes together as a.
Yeah, because my mindset is effective if it's shifting how I significantly feel consistently, because now I'm settling into a new state of consciousness. And so when you say mindset, to me, it's yes, but it's a way to get to that new state of consciousness. And it's effective if you are starting to feel the difference. It's not effective if you're not feeling the difference. Yeah, I've got to, if I'm shifting my mindset, for just using that terminology, but I'm also noticing I'm feeling better, I'm feeling more inspired, I'm feeling more encouraged, then it is being significant, and keep doing it. But if you've, invested in some kind of mindset tool or, program or whatever, but you are not feeling yourself different, then it is not working. It's not being effective yet.
So is there a special time that you do? I mean, you just mentioned that when you woke up, you started writing. In 12 minutes, you felt better. Is there a special time that people start writing or do this meditation, or?
Sure. So research would say early morning is best from two perspectives. One, less interruptions, just because the world's still quieter. Your world hopefully might be still quieter. I get up before the rest of your household if you have people in your house. And then the other will be like Joe Dispenza. I'm a big fan of his because he loves blending spirituality and science, and he's a big 4 a.m. guy, right? Because he says your brain is really in the right state for things to be more effective. I'm an early bird, but I'm not a 4 a.m. guy. I'm kind of a 5 o'clock. But the consistency matters. So I tend to wake up every day at 5. But the way I do it in my day, right? Because in your day, how can you kind of keep aligning? And what I'll do is I'll look for those natural transitions in my day. Like maybe I just checked emails and now I'm about to go to a meeting, or I'm about to go start on a project, or whatever that might look like in your day. Or for me, I'm finishing this, but I have a client, in a little while. And so in those natural places you transition in your day, I will use meditation for like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 if I can. And I'll focus on my heart space and I'll focus on my breath and sensing my breath in and out of my heart. The sensing of it and the focusing of it lets you shift out of your head just for a moment. Because if you've been doing something, you've been in your head. Now let me shift. So I practice that throughout my day, and just these natural transitions. 2 minutes is better than 0 minutes. 5 minutes is even a little better. And then while I go and I settle in, then I've started asking myself to just sort of practice that divine intuition. It's like, well, what's next? And I'll just genuinely ask the question, what's next? Is it what's on my agenda, or do I genuinely feel some different inspiration? Sometimes it matches what I had in line. And sometimes I've had times I'll get a different sense of what's next. And if I'm in the ability to do it, I'll try to follow that. And usually it works out just fine. But so instead of letting your tank get to empty, which is what a lot of people do in their day, I've been using natural transitions, and then I just chill and I focus on my breath and I focus on my heart space, but I try to sense that. Sensing lets you get out of thought. When you sense a person near you is different than thinking about a person. So I sense my breath, sense my heart space, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. And it recharges you energetically. And what I find is my energy stays better throughout my day, but I also keep tapping into what's next and just a clearer space. So at the end of my day, I feel like I've managed it better and I've managed my energy better by just doing that little practice. And you're pressing your intuition.
Little doses of it help.
Say again?
It's a little doses of it.
It is. And it's instead of waiting so long till you feel your energy, you feel depleted. It's like if I just put these, it's kind of like a run-on sentence. If I put some periods, it reads a lot better. Yeah. And you stay, then at the end of your day, you're not on empty because you never allowed your tank to get to empty, right?
Awesome. I like that. Thank you so much. So
yeah, sure.
Tell me why this is important for anybody. I mean, you just shared that it's good for everybody. Why this is important to align yourself, and why should anybody do it? Like, energy work has now just surfaced in my life a year and a half ago, almost 2 years now. When my husband was sick and people were talking about, oh, I'll send you energy. And I don't understand how that works. Like, you haven't touched a person, how are you sending energy? I didn't get that. But I'm hearing now that there's a lot of people out there practicing and they're doing that. And I'm not discarding their work. It's just that I don't understand it.
Sure. And it's an experience, right? So even our friend Sonia, we were talking about earlier, it was an experience she had when we were doing the guided heart-centered meditation. And it's hard to put words into that. And I just feel like I'm kind of guiding an experience. I do another return to wholeness meditation, but that one gets into the energy centers in your body and blessing and balancing those. But to come back around to something. So in my first book, Manifest a Better Life with God, I use this analogy, and God and I go on this journey. And chapter 1's called, well, why the heck isn't it working? I'm doing A, B, C, D, and it's still not working. And so this dialogue begins, and it's this analogy of the ocean and the waves, and that every wave is different size, different shape. But if you peer into the wave, it's all driven by one source. It's one consciousness. It's one divine ocean that's manifesting in all diverse and abundant ways. And so when I think of energy work, and I think of you're settling into this ocean. And so if I were here in South Louisiana and you're in Chicago, and I'm going to do an energy session with you, even though you're in Chicago, I think of it's like we're going beneath the surface of this individuality thing called the wave. And we're resting in this divine space that is, there's wetness everywhere at every layer of the ocean. And it's wetness at every time, right? It's never separate. You cannot be aware of it, but you can never not be connected to it. It's always sourcing. So when someone's sending energy to your husband, I think of it that way. It's like, well, there's a connectedness beneath what looks like separateness, right, as individuals. And quantum science is showing more and more from a science perspective of all this stuff. I like science. I just still tend to talk, though, in the realm of spirituality and energy. So, but that's how I think of it, right? If you think of it from the wave, come back to the ocean, and now I'm going to send energy to your husband. Well, there's a connectedness there, so it can work.
Okay. I mean, it wasn't explained properly, but we did it anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's another new story. But the bottom line is that we're talking about changing energy levels in our body to figure out where we need to be, where we have to be in the positive sense compared to being in that chaos in our mind where everything is not working right for me, and why is it just taking so long, like you said. And
right. And energy, if you think of energy and consciousness as sort of the same thing, right, then how I think can shift my consciousness, and that can shift my energy. And again, my feelings are going to always kind of let me know, am I shifting it or not shifting it, right? And chronic feelings of anxiety, chronic feelings of anger, chronic feelings, it's just you've been in a certain state for a long time. And what you're up against is you have neurology now. Now you have momentum. So now it doesn't take much for the anxiety to kick in. Now it doesn't take much for the anger to kick in, because you're already wired neurologically to go there. So when you're trying to shift things that are chronic, the consistency matters. And to me, the meditation as a tool is what keeps helping me shift. Because every time I shift, I'm rewiring my neurology. But if it's chronic, you just got to realize there's momentum you're up against. You're up against your own neurology. You can shift it. It's not hardwired, it's wired, and you can shift it. But it takes consistency and it takes practice. And every time you settle in, you're rewiring your system. And you're rewiring your brain. There's all kind of research around the benefits to meditation from neurology, and your brain benefits, your heart benefits.
This is such a wonderful thing, right? I have to be the devil's advocate here. Why aren't the physicians using this more? Like, you have so many people who are depressed and who are anxious and who are taking so many depressants. And then we have people who are not getting well. And if this is something that is so beneficial, why isn't this a practice that people are now incorporating into medical world?
I think from a Western, it's been practiced for thousands of years in Eastern countries. we're a little slower, right, to kind of come around. But the other thing, I think there are more physicians who are starting to get a little bit more holistic. But the other thing to me that comes to mind, it's a doctor of medicine, right? So it's about medically, how can I help you? And have we come up with anything that medically would help you? So it's different to take a consciousness energy approach to it. But meditation research shows when you consistently do it, you are the part of your brain, the amygdala, that has to do with fear, fight, flight, anxiety, starts to shrink, like it starts chilling out. The part of your brain, we tend to be more right brain, left brain, right? There's a lot more whole brain synchronization that starts to happen. And when they've studied, like even Einstein donated his brain, like there was a lot of whole brain synchronization going on at that genius kind of level. And meditations kind of help establish some of that. Heart coherence, your heart starts opening. And they're finding that 90% of your connective neurology between your heart and your brain is actually from your heart to your brain. It's not the other way around. So when I meditate and I go into my heart center and I open my heart more, then that starts getting more coherent, but it starts improving my brain functioning, just because, well, like 90% of the connectivity is going this way, not that way. So there's just tons of benefit. Depression, there's tons of research around how it helps with depression and all that kind of good stuff. So
this has been a wonderful session. So, Michael, how do people find you?
How do they find me? So email is michael@createwithconsciousness.com. So Create with Consciousness is the name of my business, because to me, it's all about shifting consciousness to shift energy to, that kind of thing. So michael@createwithconsciousness.com. My website is createwithconsciousness.com. And my other website, it's based off of Divine Dirt, which is my current book, which is a collection of spiritual teachings with photography from my own garden. And there's a website at divinedirt.net. And what I got inspired to do was take my photography that's in the book and put it on pillows and t-shirts and wall art and coffee mugs and create different inspirational products. So anyway, so you can kind of reach me those places.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So ladies and gentlemen, there you have it, find your energy space and align it, because that's what's going to keep you going. And if you're in your happy place, that's what studies have shown, is that if you're in your happy place, we can always take a plunge to anything that we want in life, and we are successful. Most people sit and simmer in their own sauce, I call it, and they get frustrated with things that are not working. Well, let's shift our mind and shift our heart, like he says, and the energy, so that we talk about what's working and forget about what's not working, and just take what's working and then make that an abundant source for us, right?
If I shift long enough, I've got to shift till I start feeling different, right? That's kind of the key. I can think a positive thought all day long, but if I'm not feeling different, then we've got two different currents going on, and I'm going to need to reach for a different thought.
Reach for your positive thought. Reach for your happy, positive thoughts. That's what I want.
And keep reaching for it till you feel different.
There you go.
Then you're on the right track.
So thank you so much. It was amazing. And we'll bring you back, because I'm really interested in learning more about this. But let's say goodbye for now. And for those of you who are interested, let's go find Michael at createwithconsciousness.com.
Yeah.
And that's his website. He's got a few pictures. That's amazing. I saw your book when you held it up, so I'm going to have a take a look at it. But all of you people out there who are still struggling, just shifting, just little shifts, the 2-minute changes that you have to do every day in periodic. I used to be in pharma, so one thing I'm going to say is every medication that we prescribed was take one pill every 4 hours, or every 6 hours. So dose yourself to that, and shift your consciousness every so often and change that, because you have to constantly change it to keep it back. You just can't do it one time and say it's done.
Right.
Well, it was wonderful to see you, and thank you so much for being on Munira's Musings. Till we meet again. For those folks, we will be back next week with another guest and another perspective. And join us on the same channel at the same time on Monday, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.